Okay, before we start, I want to know how many rascals and how many Gabbar Singhs are there here. So it's a poll. How many in the South team? Oh, give a oh. And how many in Bollywood? It's almost equal. That's a problem with Bangalore. So before we start, we were just discussing who will represent Bollywood and who will represent South. We are yet to decide. That's why we thought we take a poll, and whoever is majority, that we can take. But unfortunately, it is equal. So I will ask the first question to you. Why so many remakes?
The answer before that is, I am a North Indian when it's convenient to me and a South Indian when it's convenient to me.
Same here. I make my money in the North.
I'm a Malayali, born and brought up in Delhi. I speak Hindi fluently. I also speak Malayalam fluently. I started out as a Hindi film critic in film criticism, but for about 8-9 years, when I was the Malayalam film critic also for First Post, I was probably the only film critic who's reviewing in a focused manner cinema of southern India and not based in southern India. So I'm whatever you want me to be. I'm both North Indian and South Indian. I'll speak for both sides. I was told backstage that I'm going to be roasted by a gentleman who called me female critic. Did he introduce me as female critic? Let him come back. I'll roast him. Why so many remakes? The answer to that question is that I think that the Hindi film industry has had too much privilege for too long. The very fact that the term regional cinema is used for cinema other than Hindi is an indication of that. What on earth does regional cinema mean? Because it indicates that there is such a thing as national cinema. And what is a national cinema in India? It's coming from a mindset and a misconception that people have had for decades that Hindi is India's national language, which it is not. Correct? So that term itself, regional cinema, is a marginalizing term, as marginalizing as regional language. We must discard those terms. But what is happening with the Hindi film industry right now, the state of flux that it is in, the struggle it is facing to bring out quality cinema and cinema that works at the box office, as a result of which it's indulging in copying of formulae from southern India and remakes. All of this is a perfect example of how one day your privilege will come back to bite you. And this is a lesson, it's not just a lesson for Hindi bhashis in the North or the Hindi film industry. It is a lesson for men in a patriarchal world. It is a lesson for upper castes in a caste-ridden society. It is a lesson for cisgendered heterosexuals in an LGBTQ-phobic society. Even if you are not going to speak for the marginalized because it's the right thing to do, please speak for them because from out of selfish interest, because understand that the best world that exists, the best ideal world is a world in which everybody gets equal opportunities. Because if Hindi cinema had not been given the false impression for decades together by the so-called national media that they are the most important film industry in the country, that everybody's primary source of cinema entertainment in India is Hindi, if they hadn't been given the false impression that everybody else is a marginal player, if they hadn't been given the false impression that they are the richest industry in terms of money, that they are producing the maximum number of films, and if they had looked past their blinkered vision and looked past the so-called national media's coverage, they would have realized that Telugu, Tamil are massive industries, that Malayalam people are falling in love with right now. But from the 1980s, the festival-going audience has been telling us that Malayalam is making beautiful films. And at least Telugu and Tamil have been fighting hard to find a space in the national mindset. And now, in this post-pandemic era, when it has coincided with the OTT era, all of India has got exposure to the cinema of all of India, and that's why they are rejecting Hindi cinema repeatedly, which is why there are so many remakes being made, because Hindi cinema is struggling to figure out what its place is on a landscape that they thought was familiar but is not.
Oh my, I can't go back to Bombay now. Great. Because I am working with a lot of Bollywood producers. 3 of my films are coming, one with Rohit Shetty, 2 with Rakesh Omprashpa. Hindi cinema, fine. Names, because we have been using a lot of names, I will keep it as Hindi cinema for you. Thank you. Now the question to Archana. We heard the spirited talk from the great critic here. Do you think the South Indian film, especially Malayalam film, cannot be accused of all these faults like misogyny, patriarchal issues, also how the minorities and oppressed are perhaps marginalized? Do you think the South Indian films, Malayalam, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, are free of all these faults?
No, I don't think so. In Malayalam, in Tamil, in Telugu, or in any other language, any regional language, nothing is fault-free, right? We are all trying to create content. We are all trying to create meaningful content that can relate to audience, a greater audience. We try. Even in the first film, even in the only film that I've made till now, I tried to do that, to reach to a larger audience, even if my film is a Malayalam film. The intention is to get to a larger audience, right? So I don't think, to answer your question, Anand, it's definitely not fault-free. It has all these problems that Anna just pointed out. But what we're trying to focus is on the positive things. We're trying to focus on the main idea behind making a film that's entertainment, right? So, every filmmaker, I think, has an intention. Every writer has their own intention. And as I look at it, I think Kannada films and Malayalam films are more writer-oriented, where you see Telugu or Tamil, it's more spectacle-oriented. Hindi, if I look at it, I think it's kind of long form. They have big banners, big studios, not small units and small banners like we have in Kerala. So I think no language, no industry is fault-free, but we're trying to overcome certain barriers, certain faults in our own smaller ways. Anand?
Well, very diplomatic answer if I may say. But this kind of, I want to ask you, is it just a success bias that we are ascribing reasons because Hindi film is not doing good now, so whatever is doing good, we are ascribing reasons like this is more progressive. If I take a list of Telugu films, Tamil films, Kannada films, Malayalam films, and apply the things what you said, 95% of them will fail.
I didn't say any of the things you're saying, I said. Just to be very clear, see, you're making assumptions that I was saying that Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, and Malayalam are perfect. I didn't use the word patriarchy. I didn't say that they are not casteist. I didn't say that they are flawless. I spoke of the flaws of Hindi cinema, which is that I said there was privilege and therefore they weren't able to see that there is an audience out there whose primary source of entertainment is not Hindi cinema in our country, and also that the Tamil and Telugu industries for decades have been pushing and trying to find ways to get a national audience, which is, like if you look back at the 1990s, Mani Ratnam dubbed his films into Hindi and released them. Why? Because he deserved a national audience and he wasn't getting it because the national media wasn't covering him. And Bahubali did not succeed accidentally. There was very clear strategy. They had a person who's prominent in each region in this country presenting that film. So for instance, in the north and in the Hindi region, it was Karan Johar presenting it. They shot simultaneously in 2 languages as far as I remember. They dubbed it in multiple languages. They hired an agency in North India. So they worked hard. I never said that Telugu, Tamil and Malayalam and Kannada are free of patriarchy at all. That's an assumption that you made. On the contrary, and also just to be clear, nothing I said just now is what I'm saying just now because the Hindi film industry is struggling and therefore I'm post facto saying these are the reasons. I've been writing about these things for 30 years. And if they are not willing to listen, that's their fault. But Of course, there is, and I don't think Archana was being diplomatic at all. Of course, there is a deep-seated patriarchy within Malayalam cinema, which is at the moment my favorite cinema in the country, and not just mine. The whole country is savoring Malayalam cinema. But you know what's happening? It's very interesting. Unlike Telugu and Tamil, where the big banner films are the ones that are doing well across the country, in Malayalam, the big fat films with are, masculinist and all, misogynistic and all of that. Malayalam is making all that kind of cinema also. But the rest of the country is not interested in those films from Kerala. The rest of the country is watching Kadal starring Mammootty. The rest of the country is watching Drishyam starring Mohanlal. They are watching the softer, gentler Malayalam cinema and judging all of the entire industry based on the most beautiful films that it's making. So the most beautiful cinema from Kerala is very politically conscious and very politically aware, but that does not mean that the worst of Malayalam cinema is not problematic. It's deeply problematic. And Telugu and Tamil, where did I defend them either? In fact, I'm just in the past recent months going through a great deal of trouble because of an article I wrote 10 years ago about Bahubali. And now recently Tamanna Bhatia gave an interview implying that I'm sexually repressed and I think sex is a dirty thing and that's why I wrote against her. No, boss. I just said Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam are successful right now. I didn't say that they are flawless.
Okay, point taken. So, I will be keeping on provoking her so that she will come up with the spirited argument. So I'll provoke again.
End in a provocation. Ask a straight question. I'll happily answer straight.
Basically, we are talking about cinema. It's about entertainment. So provocation, I learned from Arnab Goswami. So I attended some of his shows also, debate also. So I know how it is done. And what all goes behind. So by the way, there are other films from the south which became huge hit. For example, Pushpa, KGF, Kantara. All three are three different films. Especially Kantara, very rooted film. At the same time, many of the Malayalam film which is getting celebrated, which I am also a great fan, but for the masses, how many of them have done the kind of success a KGF got across India, a Pushpa got across India, or a Bahubali got across the world, or so many of them like that. Kantara is a different film compared to KGF or Pushpa, but still, Kantara got pan-Indian, almost 850 crores it did. 850, 900 crores did first part and second part. Why isn't the Malayalam film, it is not able to produce anything as pan-Indian as this, which will play actually in the theatre in a mass scale like what Kannada film industry produced or what Tamil industries kept on producing or Telugu keep on producing or Hindi always used to do. Why the so-called celebrated Malayalam films have never got a huge... There have been OTT hits, there have been shows which have done well in the south and in some metro market, but it has never appealed across. To truly call it another national, let us not talk about the language debate. If it has to be truly national, the kind of so much celebrated Malayalam film should be playing in the theatres of Meerut and Lucknow and Guwahati, like how Bahubali did, or like how KGF did, or Kantara did. Why that is not happening in Malayalam film? Both of you can answer turn by turn.
Anand, with due respect, I think not everybody, not every language needs to imitate or needs to be like somebody else. We have a Loka, we have an echo, right? And I think we are kind of happy, we are contented with that because we need different content to be made. We need different content to be celebrated. Even if it is not national, it is okay because we need this also. But we also have an Empuran, right? We also have an Empuran, we also have a bold Empuran, I would say, which was celebrated nationally. We also have a film like Jai Jai Hai being remade in Hindi. We also have a lot of films. We have, because you started the conversation with remakes, we have a lot of Malayalam films, good Malayalam films, taken to different languages. Why? Because if you're just talking about the monetary aspect of it, in terms of the presence, the visibility, I think things are changing gradually. It's not drastic. And I think the pace it's taking is intelligent. we have a very good audience, intelligent audience, sensible audience, and I think we're very, very happy with that. However, when we talk about the commercialization, when we talk about the money, big pockets, yes, we may have to reach there, but I think none of us are in a hurry to reach there, and I think we are in a comfort zone. We are trying to better our art, better our skill sets, better everything, not be perfect and not reach where what KGF has achieved or what Kantara has achieved. I think that's not the aim. So as far as the aim is not KGF or Kantara, I think we are fine, and we're doing what we are doing in decent way, and people are celebrating, because we're talking about regional cinema, we're not really talking about Malayalam cinema, but we keep coming back to Malayalam cinema, right? And that itself is a success, according to me. So that's fine. We really don't want just to make it pan-Indian. A lot of people contain that word right now. They say, no, there's nothing called pan-Indian. We don't really want bad representation, wrong representation of characters or of anything, wrong identity. We don't really want a Param Sundari to happen and then say, oh, women in Kerala pluck coconuts every day and make chutney. No. So I don't do that myself. I'm a proud Malayali. None of the family members of mine do it. But my help in Bangalore, I stay in Bangalore, I'm a proud Bangalorean. My help tells me, oh, this is what you do when you go back to Kerala? No, I really don't do that. I never climbed a coconut tree. So what I mean to say is, with due respect, it's, I think we are very careful in the kind of content that we are making. So it takes a little bit of time to do a Kantara or a KGF, and I think that's okay.
I just want to be very clear that I don't measure quality based on how much money it has made. For me, if a film is good, a film is good. And as Archana so rightly said, ultimately when people are talking about quality and referencing cinema, they're always coming back to Malayalam cinema. In fact, there are, by the way, several Malayalam films that have been remade in Hindi. And the joke about that is, I mean, I don't know if you all have noticed, they will remake a film and delete all the politics from the film. Like, I don't know, do you remember this Marathi film called Sairat? It was an intercaste love story. And what did Hindi cinema do? They removed the caste from it and made it a love story. There is a Malayalam film called Helen, in which the lead is a Christian girl and she has a Muslim boyfriend. And there's a very important scene in the police station where they go to the police station because they're caught hanging out together on the road, and the cop is immediately suspicious of the guy because he's Muslim. And I remember writing in my review that I would love to see a Hindi remake of that film, because in the Hindi remake, the dynamic changes. Now, if a film is made on 200 crores, and it collects 198 crores. Is it a hit? No, it's not. But what will the producers tell you? We made 198 crores. So I think that these Malayalam films are doing very well. And of course, they're a different sort of cinema. And in every language. By the way, we're in Karnataka. I want to talk to you about Kannada indie cinema. Karnataka is making such sweet indie cinema that somehow hasn't caught national attention. But it's very similar to the middle-of-the-road Malayalam cinema. Does that mean that they're not good quality films? Sue from So, that was a hit over here, but people in Delhi really don't know about it except for film critics. But then, they don't have that kind of money to promote it. They don't have, putting a trailer in a theater costs money. So all of these these are films that need word of mouth. They need film critics to talk about them. They need people like you and me as their promoters. So of course, it's much more challenging. But so what? They are the ones that are enduring. They will be the ones that you will talk about 200, 300 years from now, not Golmaal 555.
I have another thought here. And I want both the ladies to, and some of the audience when the questions are coming, to talk about it. It's just a personal opinion. It has got nothing to do with the quality of the films. As I said, I love most of the films she recommends and I read her columns. I love all those films. That's me. But I also produce commercial things for television, OTT and films. There's a different kind of discussion inside when you are sitting inside, trying to outguss the audience, trying to see how the people will be there. It's not that people who are making, whether it is in Hindi, Malayalam, Tamil or Telugu, I worked in many of the industries, all these people are idiots to put these kind of scenes. These are all highly creative people. The problem is they are not thinking that, no, I will make a stupid film and try to earn some money. They are trying to outguess the audience and nobody has a clue what the audience want and they sometimes miserably fail. It's a phase where people are failing. But the question is whether it has to do anything with the creativity or whether it has something to do with the commerce of things. Let me put this like this. A ticket price in Mumbai, where I have been living almost 13-14 years, recently only moved, is 600 rupees minimum in PVR. Sometimes if it is a festive season, it goes to 1,100, 1,200 rupees. Plus a popcorn, which is made of gold, costs around 600 rupees. And a coffee is 500 rupees. A family goes, it is like 4 people go, it's minimum of 6,000 rupees apart from the Uber and other things or whatever you are paying, 6,000 to 7,000 rupees. We all know that whatever our GDP might be 5 trillion, of which 4 trillion is with 2 families, the rest you have to share the 1 trillion, right? So the average income is something around 20,000-25,000 rupees for the 90% of the people in Mumbai. How many will spend 7,000 rupees week after week, week after week? I am telling from the angle of how a commercial producer thinks. How to attract these people to come to a thing like PVR, where somebody is willing to pay their 1/3 of their salary to watch. They are not going to come and watch the OTT kind of very intellectual film that the crowd here, all of us enjoys. You have to pull in the masses. We can find the fall of the quality of the Hindi films coincided with the rise of the theater multiplexes, where it has become so unaffordable for people to attract, and those people who can afford it, they don't want to watch this shit. So the entire industry is confused, and also the number of theaters in the north is very, very, very low. You know the number of theaters. No, the entire Odisha has less number of theater than the city of Cochin. The entire UP will be having lesser number of theaters than one area of Bangalore. So it is not an equal fight now. If you want to see the comparison, you see the OTT shows which comes in Hindi compared to the OTT shows which comes in Malayalam. The kind of quality of many of the OTT shows which came in Netflix and other things of Hindi shows are far superior to what is coming from other Indian languages. Because the OTT is a paying crowd, it's an intellectual crowd, so the same people who take the masala film, they are able to dish out very high quality products there. So has something to do with how the market has turned and how the ticket costs have increased. Has it influenced the way in which the stories have been told and how the Bollywood or the Hindi film industry has changed over the last post-COVID era? Your comments on it, both of you.
Anand, what was the question?
The question is simple. As I said, first I said it's a statement. The statement is that the films in the metropolitan cities across the north has become unaffordable for the common man compared to the average income of people. It's almost 4,000 to 5,000 rupees, even in Bangalore, but most of these places. So when the Hindi films they make, they are not able to, they are confused in the sense that the masses from where the money has to come, they can't afford to go to these theaters. Standalone theaters are very less compared to the south. So is it that apart from all the reasons we ascribed, as an industry insider, I can say this confusion is because of that, how to bring in the audience, perhaps more of OTT, because in television series we can find that there is a marked difference, OTT series, what Hindi produces and what the Malayalam OTT series are yet to reach even 10% of the quality of many of the Hindi OTT series. I'm not talking about GC series. Whereas the films, it's the other way around. So why is the change? Is it just to do with the commercial aspect of it? Because both of you are telling commercial is not that important. But I feel commercial is very important.
I didn't actually say that, and I don't know.
Okay, so from what I understood, I think ever since the post-pandemics, I'm just for the sake of, I'm just simplifying it. the answer. So yeah, post-pandemic, I think digital streaming platforms have only helped filmmakers come up with a lot of content. My film got released only because of OTT. It didn't have a theatrical release. Because now we have a categorization. Oh, is this a theater film or is this a OTT film? So when we pitch as a writer, when I pitch it to the director or when I pitch it to an investor or a producer, the first thing is, Archana, how do you look at it? Is it for the big screen, that is for the theater, or is it for OTTs? Is it for film festivals? So we have these categorizations. So every writer, when they write, first have to think about who the target audience is. Not just the target audience, where the target audience is going to be. Are they going to a theater or going to watch this film? Then the budget is ascribed to that specific script accordingly, if it's an OTT accordingly. So irrespective of any other aspects, this is how the categorization begins. So this is how it begins right now from my experience. I have very little experience. Second thing, I think digital platforms or digital streaming platforms have only helped filmmakers who otherwise wouldn't have got an opportunity to make films at all. Now we can make films for 50 lakhs. I know a lot of friends who've made films with just 50 lakhs got international accreditation just because of OTTs. 1 crore, 2 crores, 3 crores, we make films like that. We pitch from there. If it's a theater film, it's not possible because Anna was just talking about the kind of money that you have to. The producer has to invest for trailers to be shown in theater before and during. So all this needs money. It's all money. I also didn't say that commercials are not important. Producer is investing 1 crore. He has to get 1 crore plus something for sure. There at least has to be a break even. So that definitely is important. How much is the question, right? And how big is your content? How big is your audience is also another thing. So digital platforms I completely support, and I think, there's a slight disagreement with all due respect here because I don't think the quality of content is better in Hindi, even if it comes to series. If you say you have better content in movie, or if you say you have better series in Lionsgate or in Apple, right? You have a Pluribus, you have a Severance, you have a Ted Lasso. We don't have all that, right? In here, in Netflix or Amazon, what are we showing? Irrespective of the language. But you watch something like that, like Severance or Pluribus, you're kind of waiting for the next week to see the 5th episode of Pluribus. Are we doing something like that in regional cinema? I'm not specifically saying Hindi or Tamil or Malayalam. I don't know any of the series where audience is waiting to watch the next episode the next week. So I think when I say we, it's not just Malayalam cinema, it's not just Tamil cinema or Kannada cinema or Hindi cinema. I think we have a long way to go to compare to the content that we actually watch, we get to watch in platforms like Mubi or Apple or even Lionsgate. We haven't reached there. Netflix or Amazon are not streaming content like that. But it's giving a lot of opportunity for people like us, I'm sure a lot of filmmakers, budding filmmakers are in the audience. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here listening to us. What is the next level? What can I do next? So I think you all have enough opportunities. You have small producers, small investors coming in and saying, we have Tadava in Malayalam, got national recognition, state awards, but it's still struggling to get a platform, right? So very, very good content. I'm sure you would have watched it, Tadava, right? So such good content with very minimal amount. So I think it's giving a lot of exposure. Lot of people, new directors, new writers are coming up every day, and I think it's a very good sign. I'm really not a good person to talk about the commercial part of it because I don't know. So I really don't want to talk about that which I don't know, Anand, I'm sorry. But this is what I know, and I think whatever is happening right now is very positive to me.
I will rephrase the question.
Okay, I understood. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Please, I am asking a different question.
Okay. But I want to answer that one.
Same, you can answer that.
Okay.
I know. The last question, after that it's for the audience. I'll put it like this. Hindi film is in trouble. What is your advice to the people in the Hindi film world to persuade the common people in North India to spend 6,000 rupees and watch a film? what kind of film they should produce. Can they produce Malayalam-like film, or can they produce some other kind of film?
First of all, I'm nobody to advise Hindi film producers and directors. I am a consumer. That is my area of expertise. Their area is making films. If I take my car to a service center and say, this is the problem with my car, the engineer will not turn around and tell me, well, you tell me what to do. And if I were to try and give advice to them, it would be arrogant on my part. But I see around me, and I think, Anand, you said you're trying to provoke me, but I feel like it's you that's gotten provoked. There's no need to get defensive about the Hindi film industry. Like I started out saying, I speak, read, and write the language. I love Hindi cinema. I've grown up on it, and I began my career writing on Hindi, not Malayalam cinema. There is Hindi cinema has produced some great classics. I mean, Sahib Biwi or Gulam is one of my favorite all-time films. We've just celebrated the 50th anniversary of Sholay, which is a film that has influenced generations of filmmakers across the country. So just because there is a crisis right now does not mean that I'm saying that all Hindi cinema is rubbish. That's not the case. But I think the problem right now, first of all, yes, of course, the exhibition sector is really crazy. They are jacking up their tickets at a time when the industry is struggling to get people into halls. So there has to be some discussion between filmmakers, the creators, and the exhibitors and distributors. But secondly, this is not a crisis that only the Hindi film industry is in. Every industry across the world is struggling. Just because we said we love Malayalam cinema doesn't mean that Malayalam cinema isn't struggling to get audiences into theaters either. Hollywood is struggling. Post-pandemic, everyone is struggling to figure out, and qualitatively, the bigger the industry is, the more the quality is declining because filmmakers were trying to second guess the audience, and the more you second guess the audience, the more you make generic films that are coming out of, for instance, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC Universe. The reason why so much of India is talking about Malayalam cinema right now is because Malayalam cinema is telling rooted stories, and the more rooted you are, and with each passing year, it's getting more and more rooted. The more rooted you are, the more specific you are, the more universal your relevance. And while I never said commercial is not relevant, while I am not a fan of the Bahubali films, I will say this: Rajamouli made those films with a commitment to what he believed in. He was true to himself. And this is the problem right now with Hindi cinema. They are looking at Bahubali and saying, oh, that's work, so let us make mythology-based cinema. But they also want to preach the right wing and the government, so let's also bash Muslims. So they are trying to pander to everybody and in effect, therefore, appealing to nobody. Write what you believe in, as any journalist will tell you this. First, focus on what you know, what you believe in. And instead of trying to be everyone, you've got to be yourself. So I'm not giving advice to anyone, but I see what is wrong and I am saying what I think is wrong, and people who are open-minded will listen. And the biggest example right now, I'll wind up quickly because I really am keen to listen to the audience. The biggest example right now is S.S. Rajamouli. He made two films that were mega hits, Bahubali 1 and 2. Now, when I wrote an article called The Rape of Avantika in 2015, I got reviled by his fans, okay? And again, what Tamanna Bhatia was speaking this time was about that 10-year-old article. But guess what? Rajamouli, whether he'll admit it or not, was clearly listening. He saw that the world has changed, the audience has changed, and the Indian audience is talking more about issues like patriarchy, sexual abuse, violence against women. And so, when he combined the two films and re-edited them and re-released them just 2 months back, he cut out that entire scene where this guy is forcibly redressing her up and changing her and quote-unquote making her realize how beautiful she is. So listen to what the audience is saying instead of trying to be everybody and ending up being nobody.
Thank you. Now you know why she is a critic. So now with that, I'm opening it to the audience. A mic can be given so that I can take rest and you can ask the questions.
Yeah, I have a question. My question is directed towards Archana, ma'am. There is another popular opinion about the success of Malayalam films. I mean, I have come across two more reasons. One is they say their stories are devoid of any kind of propaganda, be it religious or political. That is one thing. Point number two is they say, fortunately, there is no entourage business which goes on in Malayalam film industry. What
business?
Entourage business?
Okay.
Business that is big stars having their own teams. I mean, making Instagram reels, not allowing junior artists to interact with them. So, what is your take on that, ma'am, as a filmmaker? Are these two reasons possible reasons for success of Malayalam film industry?
Okay, so
That is no propagandistic stories and no entourage business. Thank you.
I don't think, personally, I don't think it's all our films in Malayalam are non-propagandist. Do you think so, Anna? I mean, I do think there are so many films out there that has propaganda, loud propaganda. Maybe they are not popular because they are cancelled or banned, right? So that is the reason why we are not familiar with them. But there are so many. For example, a recent film called Hal, which is yet to be released. That's right now the court has stayed the release of the film because there's they're using beef biryani in that, and the specific party or specific group does not want beef biryani or whatever they're showing along with that to be shown. So for the last couple of months, the producer and the director are fighting with the court just to release the film. So the reason why we feel that the Malayalam film success is because it's anti-propagandist, I don't think so, just because we are not exposed to it. Second, second question, I don't think, I mean, whatever you said about the heroes having groups and all that, that exists everywhere. Right, so and especially you have big people, big teams like Empuran is a big banner. Like you have Prithviraj in it, we have Mohanlal in that. We also have, like I was mentioning, we also have a small film like Tadava or even Jay Jay Hey. Also talking about a specific, like she was saying, a very rooted story, right? Where we can all relate to. For example, when we take the recent hit Echo, we don't have heroes there. They marketed it. I think the marketing strategy has changed over the years in Malayalam. The writing, the way of writing has changed. The casting has changed. We don't have heroes in Echo. So I think that the whole thing is changing, like I said before. It's gradually, but it's changing. It need not be hero-centric anymore. And there is no barrier of language also. Now we have subtitles. Now we have so many. We don't really have to go to a film festival to watch a film like Echo. Otherwise, it would have been a film festival film before. Right now, it's not, and that's a very positive change. So I think whatever you were talking about, the second point, it's there everywhere, but people like us also survive because we have space and we have support. Brahmayugam, yes. Yeah, correct. And I think also the propaganda, whether it has a propaganda or not, is also very subjective, right? When you might see something, I may not, right?
Next question.
Good evening, and thank you so much for an engaging perspective from all the spectrum of the entertainment biz. For my question is going to be in a digital market, to broadcast content to a wide audience for the purpose of satisfying investor concerns. What kind of, do I resort to a linked language by using English or Hindi? Or do I end up making the content and then distributing it by dubbing it as per the geographical markets?
Are you a creator? Are you a film creator?
No, I'm just a person who is curious to know different markets. So
Okay, I mean, I can only tell you about what my ideal is. I mean,
Yes,
you know,
please.
personally, I would always rather watch a subtitled film and watch it in the original language. But if dubbing gets a larger audience to that film, then I'm all for it. Because I think that if you are exposed to a certain kind of cinema through the dubbed versions, at some point, there will be at least one or two people in that group who will say, hey, let me see it in the original language. And so it grows from there. You know, things like watching subtitle cinema, watching cinema that's not in your mother tongue or not in a language that you know personally. All of this requires producers need to invest time and money in building up such audiences and need to be patient. That won't happen quickly like the big, larger-than-life cinema in the most commonly spoken language in the world. But people are changing, audiences are changing. We've seen with OTTs that people are interested in watching cinema and shows that are not in their languages. And if a creator's natural inclination is to make a film in Spanish or in Hindi or in Assamese, why would, I mean, it feels to me like forcing that person to make a film in another language because that will have wider reach is in a sense taking away from their creativity. And this is really the part of the crisis of cinemas across the world, film industries across the world is this, that they are killing the artist who is the core of the industry because there are a bunch of, sorry, no offense intended to MBAs in the audience, but because there are a bunch of MBAs and lawyers telling artists what they ought to do, and OTTs, which were supposed to be the salvation of creators in this country, OTTs have become even worse. They are policing creators far more. They are vetting scripts. They have script vetting departments that are primarily, marketing and legal teams. I hope they realize that the decline has started with things like this happening. And in the case of the Hindi film industry, I have no qualms in saying that the decline in the quality of Hindi cinema has coincided with the start of the Modi era, when the Hindi film industry decided that they want to pander to the government largely, not everybody, but largely. And so they started making films that were less about telling stories about real people and more about making us all hate each other.
I think time is up. Thank you very much for this engaging discussion, and thank you all. The idea of provocation was otherwise all three of us will be just singing praises of Malayalam film. Thank you.